Okay. Tell me about this land holding families arrangement where you have to go to a family if you want to buy land, because the sound of that doesn't resonate with me. You live in the United Kingdom and you know how the property market works here with land registry and there being a central database in regards to ownership and registration of property and land, etc. So what's the difference here? Because, if you're going to go and, because I've bought land before in Ghana and I have deeds here, okay? That land was bought from a chief, but the chief was just a chief. He the land that was supposedly sold to me did not belong to the chief. It was the government's land. So how do we avoid not being ripped off by just some family member who has land, and land is not centrally owned or centrally monitored by government, a government body? How does it work?
And so when the British colonized Freetown, so it was only Freetown that they colonized, and not the rest of the country. And so the rest of the country was protectorate, so it was under their protection.
Right.
And so the customs and laws in those parts of the country remain unchanged. Hence, the reason why Sierra Leone have three legal systems working together, and there's no definition as to which one is superior. So we still have the common law that the British left for us, which since 1961, nothing has been changed. And you have the customary law, which was there before the Brits went there, which was left untouched. And the Mohammedan laws were introduced in the mid-70s to address inheritance, marriages, and Islamic rights, because Sierra Leone is a majority Muslim country. And now more than 85% of the country adhere to customary laws rather than state laws. And so, which means state law, if I can say so, is only applicable in Freetown. And when you cross Freetown, it's traditional law.
Right.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, so to both of you, then is it fair to say then it's better than to approach Sierra Leone as a place to go and make money and extract the money out of, as opposed to making money there and trying to invest in a system that seems to be so divided? Like if you've got four systems, running in a country, then I don't know if you will ever have stability if one of them prevail over the other three.
There are a lot of countries in the world that have up to 4 legal systems working together, and there's no conflicts between those systems. It's just, I guess, the way land is distributed and how people understand. And if the state does not own land beyond Freetown, the state can have influence. But then when the state is not there, there will always be problem between the landholding family or the landholding community and the investor. But what investors have done is to try to understand those relationships. So which means once you understand the relationships, because the landholding families, there is a list, there is a document in the Ministry of Land where you can search and know and identify the landholding families. And in the south and the east of the country, they are mostly also part of the paramount chief system.
So
And
is it straightforward then for an expat, a non-national, to invest and own freehold land, or is all the land for non-nationals
for
lease?
as long as the locals are not excluded in the deal, and that's where the first investors that tried to exclude the locals had problems with the locals when the government is not there to enforce it. And so after few struggles with understanding that way of doing things, nowadays investors will also involve the communities. In fact, there's a document that was developed. It was called the Free Prior um, uh, Informed Consent, and so we are all stakeholders to the investment land will be aware about the investment, about the deal, and they will be consulted. And once they give their consent, and then the investor can exclusively own the property and do whatever they want. I think the problem is excluding the communities
Right.
from the deal, because they are the custodians of the land. They are the ones that will be dealing with whatever investment is there. Because investments, there are good and bad sides of investment. There is environmental consequences from some investments, and the government or people in authority will not be there. It will be the local people, and so they also want to have a say if somebody is coming with a major project in their community. They want to have a say. So for as long as they are included in that discussion, there are no problems. You can invest there. You can your money will be safe there. Sierra Leone have a
As long as you don't own a water company, it sounds like.
no.
so, so Mohammed, tell me, Mohammed Jallo, tell me, your father was a big time diamond miner. So surely diamond mining is more lucrative than water in the short term. So why didn't you maintain that business with all of that experience and family connections that you have?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did. I've studied as well. I've studied diamond and minerals. I was in that region, working as well in Mozambique, Madagascar, and I was based in Thailand. I used to have an office in Thailand from 2005 to 2009. But in Sierra Leone, my brother is running that business now. He's a diamond dealer using our dad's office, one of my elder brothers, and he's doing well in the diamond trade. But as Asker was elaborating on the lands in Sierra Leone, um, you have a data of all lands in Sierra Leone.
Right.
So now we go what they call GPS. If
Right.
you have ever owned a land in Sierra Leone, you have your conveyance. In that conveyance, you have a GPS number. So if somebody else goes with that particular GPS number to say that plot of land is their land, they want to sell it to somebody else, if the ministry enter that GPS number, they will tell exactly who is the owner of that land, and they will advise you that land is owned by somebody already. That's in Freetown.
Hmm.
In the provinces, like in Kenema, because Sierra Leone, it depends on the area. The north and the east is different in terms of the way things goes in terms of land. In the eastern part of Sierra, where I come from, the paramount chiefs are the owners of the land. So for any land you want, you have to go through them in collaboration with the Ministry of Lands.
Hmm.
Because your conveyance, they don't go, the chiefs don't make conveyance for you. They will sell a plot of land to you,
Hmm.
and you will take that land papers that they've sell and sign to you to the Ministry of Lands in Kenema. Then they will document that for you in their data. So the chiefs cannot resell that land, because we used to have that issue a lot. People used to double sell lands in Sierra
Right.
Leone.
Right.
So until the government came up with that system to minimize the risk of people buying lands and finding out later, just like what they did to you in Ghana. Like in Freetown, it's government that own the lands. All lands in Freetown is owned by government. So what government normally do, they will give you that land for a little bit of money, not to the value of the land.
Right.
But there is a clause within 3 years,
Yeah.
you have to develop the land.
Right.
Development in the sense you could even run a fence on that land
Yeah.
that they consider that to be a development. So then you apply for what they call freehold.
Right.
So once you apply for that freehold, but it has to be within 3 years,
Right.
and the land become private land. So it does not belong to government anymore once government has given you that freehold.
Okay, very good. So just to tag on to that, what would you say are the best businesses? So if I'm on this call and I have, say, 10 colleagues who I work with here in the United Kingdom, and we wanted to come to Sierra Leone and make some money, okay? Like if the idea was not necessarily to move there, but to come in and invest and make some money to support our lifestyle wherever else in the world we want to live. What would you advise as the best businesses to get into that has minimum amount of risk attached to it, and where we can, minimize or mitigate some of the things that's happening to yourself in your water business?
All businesses in Sierra Leone or anywhere in the world has risk. So you can
Sure.
never take risk out of it. You minimize it, as you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, like the Turkish people in Sierra Leone at the moment, they are investing in real estate.
Okay.
Yeah. Most
Really?
of the new developments in Sierra Leone now is owned by the Turkish people.
And who's buying these? Are you talking about residential or commercial?
Residential, and both residential and commercial.
And who's buying these properties?
Well, you have people from the diaspora who are buying, and you have local people who are doing very well who don't have that, because in Sierra Leone, to build a house, you have to, like we in the diaspora, if we want to build a house, we have to be there physically. If not, you spend twice the money that you meant to spend.
Right.
So that's a shortcut for people.
Right.
They know that house has been built and is going for $100,000. They only need to pay $100,000. You have a land and the contractor will tell you $80,000.
Right.
And by the time you finish building that building, it costs you like 160, 170.
Right.
So a lot of people have had that experience. So now people from the diaspora are buying, local business people are buying. So it's a mixture of both local and international.
Right. I had a friend here who was a property developer, and he went out to Sierra Leone and he imported a ferry to your country. And he used to take people from the airports, I think it is,
Yeah.
and then take them into Freetown on this ferry. It was called the Dollar Ferry. The person who owned it was a very good friend of mine. Now, he was making a fortune at the beginning. And then again, as you mentioned, the government changed. So the licensing and, he was interfered with, and then somebody sabotaged his business and sunk the ferry. Now, that was a great business that he had, by way of transportation. Are opportunities like that still available down there?
It is. At the moment, the most prominent one is owned not even by a Sierra Leone boy, but a Nigerian.
Right.
Who is running that ferry shuttle between Freetown and he's doing it Freetown and Aberdeen, which is the coastal part of Freetown, because Freetown is surrounded by the sea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's a Nigerian. He's doing very well with that business, and he charged people $45 to cross each way. So back and forth, it will cost you $90 US dollars. So that business is thriving. But as you say, it depends on the connections you have, because if I have that business running in Freetown and is doing so much good, if you as a new investor want to come in, I'll fight always to block you not to come in.
Right.
Or if you start operating, if government eventually give you license because of competition, I will find way and means to sabotage your business for my business to grow because I don't want the competition. So that's happening in Freetown. Maybe that's exactly what happened to your friend.
Right.
And it depends how close you are with government.
Right.
That's why sometimes we tend to advise people it is good to have connection, but it's not too good to attach yourself with them.
Right.
Because when government change, what happened is punitive actions. Whoever was connected to that government, we're going to cut you off. So that's what happened, even with us, the locals, not only foreigners.
Right.
If I'm seeing I'm connected to this party and that party is in power and people think I'm making money,
Right.
when that government change, because Sierra Leone is likely every 10 years government change. That's the norm in Sierra Leone. When you are in there for your first time, you do your first and second term. But when they come to the third term, they always tend to change government in Sierra Leone. So
Right.
it always happens, even with you, the locals, not only international people. So that's happened.
Okay. Sylvina?
Yeah.
I was just wondering and you've kind of answered it briefly, vaguely, both of you, with regards to I know that our host asked a question with regards to what type of business and trade endeavors one could engage in when residing outside of Sierra Leone and engaging in business there. I still don't feel like I got the answer. I feel like you gave you gave lots of good information, but I still don't feel like I got
the answer that you needed.
Yeah. So could you so I know you've mentioned are there particular sectors? Are there so you mentioned real estate. So that's a good one. I mean, even the fact that the Turkish are over there doing that, I'm sitting here thinking, who put that on their radar? But you know,
even the new airport, they built it for $270 million and they are running it for 25 years.
Wow. Okay. I know. Look at this.
Sounds like we're late to the party.
It does, doesn't it? It really does. It really
But
does.
at least it's
To be
different
quite
from the
honest, at the
Chinese,
moment,
right?
if I'm advising someone to invest in Sierra Leone, I will advise them to go the path of agriculture because that's the most booming business at the moment in Sierra Leone. Because most people tend to go to Sierra Leone for gold and diamond in the mining sector,
Right.
and it is overcrowded.
Right.
And a lot of people have had bad experiences in that area because when that area is so much overcrowded, you have, and Sierra Leone is not free from rogues. Let me make this clear to you as well.
Right.
So you meet local people, they will lure you into Sierra Leone, and if you don't be careful, they will rip you off. It happens. So that's not say Sierra Leone is a safe haven in terms of rogue people. No, it's not. So you have to be careful when you're dealing with locals in Sierra Leone, especially if you don't have anyone to take you out there. So at the moment, even the focus of the government is on agriculture. They're encouraging people heavily to invest in agriculture. Even themselves have created a fund of $240 million to help farmers, people that are interested in agriculture, which at the moment they've given it the title Feed Sierra Leone, because they have a target by 2027. They don't want to import any rice into Sierra Leone because most of the rice at the moment consumed in Sierra Leone is imported from India, Pakistan, Thailand, Vietnam. So at the moment, they got these Vietnamese that the government went and negotiate to deal with the Vietnamese government. So they have some expatriates in agriculture from Vietnam that are presently in Sierra Leone. So this is a new area that has a lot of opportunity at the moment because it's a virgin area, not a lot of people are into it. So if I'm going to give you advice, I will advise you to look at the agriculture sector in Sierra Leone, not the diamond, not the gold. The real estate is always open. That's an open-ended business. A lot of people doing it at any time. There's always opportunity in real estate.
Does that mean then there's a lot of room for exploitation? You know, so as Brother Mohammed Askia has been saying about agriculture and it being a virgin area because the country is accustomed to importing most of these commodities. Does that mean, you know, that these multinationals who don't necessarily have the health of the people, the best the best interest of the health of the people at heart can come in and supply things like, you know, this plastic rice that was going around from China. Like,
No,
are
Sierra
we
Leone
on?
have a food security system. So
Okay.
whatever you import in Sierra Leone, you go through testing.
Okay.
That's why it is a slow process in Sierra Leone to clear a container from the port, because
Right.
they have food security in place in Sierra Leone.
Very
So
good.
like plastic food does not go to Sierra Leone. But of course, there's exploitation does happen in Sierra Leone, because the biggest exploiters at the moment in Sierra Leone now, the Chinese are doing it, the Indians are doing it, the Lebanese are doing it. So always people find a way to exploit. That's always happened.
So would you say then, to both of you, is it still our country, or are we just managers over declining affairs?
Yeah, I think it's still our country. What I was going to add to the sectors that Mohammed has mentioned is the energy sector. So that sector is ripe and ready for investment. So what the government did, I think it was the APC government, they deregulated the energy supply system, and so now anybody can set up an energy company and generate and sell to the government. And there is a lot of opportunity for solar powered energy, green energy, and so that's one area that can be looked into, and the healthcare system as well.
What aspects of the healthcare system?
Every aspect of the healthcare system, because that is one of the major challenges that we have. Diagnostics, to know what is wrong with people has been a challenge for quite a long time. And when people are often misdiagnosed, and then it ends up in fatalities. So there are a lot of opportunities in the healthcare. It just depends on the model. Because
Tell me this. What is the case in regards to those of us living in the West and who desire to bring skills like, you know, from a healthcare perspective, and who have gained expertise in major areas? Does the government have budgets for us to take advantage of, as opposed to needing to bring funds into Sierra Leone? What areas of investment can we get involved in where there is already a fund and we can benefit from that fund?
The agricultural
access
sector.
that fund immediately.
At the moment, only the agricultural sector.
Right. Only agriculture. Okay. Okay. So if I was willing to come over and share my expertise, if I could prove my credentials, then the government would pay or give grants in order for us to, me and my team, to come in and engage in aspects of supplying food and the various the various things that are needed to justify such a contract.
In terms of fund, yeah.
What areas specifically in agriculture are we talking about?
From cash crops to livestock.
So animal husbandry also is in okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds very good.
Yeah. But the other areas, like in the mining areas, they only have what they call grant. Like what they've done, like if you go as a foreigner, you want, for example, an export license for diamond or gold, you will pay twice the price than a local. So what most people do, they collaborate with a local to get the license.
Right.
But if you are a huge investor, what they tend to do, they will give you a grant in terms of reducing the tax burden on you.
So tell me, what is the likelihood of somebody going in, you know, from even a purchasing perspective? If somebody went in to purchase diamonds and to acquire the requisite paperwork and to be able to leave in one piece, is that something that is just, you know, rudimentary, or as you mentioned before, is there cases where people go with the best intentions to invest, and unfortunately they are somewhat inconvenienced in ways that the
Yeah,
transaction
it
never
does
completed?
happen. But they have a very plain forward system in Sierra Leone. You have people that owns their license. If you go to buy diamond, gold, because I don't know much about the bauxite and iron ore, it's not my field, but the diamond and gold, I trade in that area, so I know. So, for example, if I'm in Freetown, I have my license, and you come in to buy diamond and gold, because on your own, you cannot export diamond or gold out of Sierra Leone without having the
Right.
correct documentation. So you
Right.
need somebody who has export license already. So what normally people do, they will charge you on percentage basis. Say, for example, you said you took $1 million to Sierra Leone, they will say, okay, I will, if you have the expertise to buy, they will let you buy and use their office. They will bring in their customers. But if you don't have the expertise, they will use their own knowledge to help you and buy, but they will tell you, I need 5% of whatever you brought in.
Right. Right.
Sometimes people find that expensive, and this is where people get problem in Sierra Leone. When you find that expensive and you got somebody else that will tell, okay, I will get you somebody who could do it for 2 or 3%, no, you're in trouble if you go ahead with that.
Right. So tell me, just as we wind down, just as we wind down, Sylvina, did you want to come back?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Just as we wind down, as both of you have a good circumspect or in-depth knowledge of Africa as a whole, and both of you have lived in and outside and travel frequently back and forth to Sierra Leone, looking at it from a Pan-African perspective, you know, how would you rate Sierra Leone versus some of the other countries in Africa by way of opportunity and by way of repatriation? What would you advise, just as from an unbiased perspective? How would you advise somebody who was looking at Africa as a whole?
Brother Aska, you want to go or let me go?
Yeah, I think I'll start and then you'll just close up. I think Sierra Leone is ranked very, very high in a lot of rankings in terms of investment, in terms of repatriation, in terms of opportunities across many sectors. And so Sierra Leone is very attractive and it's ripe for investment. They have all the policies that will protect investors. The land is fertile. There are minerals in abundance, and there are huge opportunities there. And so for me, not being biased, I think Sierra Leone is one of the top 5s in Africa.
Okay, very good. And yourself, Brother Mohammed?
Well, Sierra Leone is known for the accommodation. Sierra Leone people could accommodate you and you feel home immediately. No segregation in Sierra Leone. That's why you find out the Lebanese, the Indians, the Turkish, the Chinese, they feel more at home in Sierra Leone than even where they come from originally.
Well, that's a bad trait then, isn't it? Because if you're going to make people feel
people are open,
more
that's
at
the
home
reality of the place
in your country,
even within we
and
Sierra
then they
Leoneans,
abandon their country to take over yours.
It's a common saying in
think
Sierra Leone.
what Mohammed is trying to say is that the
I know what
saying
Mohammed is trying to say, Askia. There is no ignorance here.
No, but that's true. Even in Sierra Leone, you could hear among ourselves say we love foreigners more than Sierra Leoneans.
It's like, for instance, Mohammed, as much as England is accommodating, Caucasian people make you to know this
you
is
are still
ours.
a foreign, exactly. But not in Sierra Leone,
Like, don't get it. They say, don't get it twisted. You can come, you can work, you can own property, you can invest, but this is ours. Okay.
In Sierra Leone, once you avoid politics, you are welcome. But if you want to go into politics, then that's the time they will tell you you're not from here.
But the problem with that is the politics is not necessarily advancing the local people. You know, it's not necessarily improving the quality of life of the local people on a rapid scale.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's a good point you brought up. It used to be that way before, but the past 15 years from the former president, from the other previous government, he made that deliberate decision, saying, now I'm going to only create local millionaires.
Right.
And all contracts that used to go to the Lebanese, the Chinese, the Indians, he did not give out none to them. It was only giving it out to young, vibrant Sierra Leoneans. And in his 10 years in office, he created more than 30 young millionaires in dollars in Sierra Leone. Road construction before used to be only by the Chinese or the Indian people or the Turkish people. He deliberately asked Sierra Leoneans, create your own companies. I will give you this contract. I don't mind you subcontracting other people to do the job if you don't have the expertise to do the job. So he did that deliberately, which that trend is continuing at the moment. We hope it lasts.
Very good. Very good. You were going to add to that, Askia.
No.
Oh.
I'm not going to add anything.
I gave you a good opportunity there to blow that trumpet. So just to wrap up then, you know, as you've both given us a resounding, you know, confirmation that as far as you're concerned, you know, Sierra Leone is as good as anybody else for opportunity. And if you go with the right attitude, you can definitely navigate and, you know, write a success story.
In this time, we hand out tougher stressing. In this time, we should all be investing. Getting knowledge should never be rejected. Every week, did you get the message? Get your tickets today, it don't take a second. Every Thursday, get 7. It's time to make this earth into heaven. So no need to worry, there's a blessing. No need for second guessing, it's a spiritual injection. It's a spiritual.